A great white shark drifts into frame off the coast of California, 16 feet long, moving the way these animals always move, unhurried, nearly weightless, in complete control of the water around her. Then she turns, and something on the top of her head catches the light. A hole, perfectly round, almost like a second blowhole, sitting just behind her eye. Researchers with the California White Shark Project had seen wounds on great whites before, the usual scrapes, bite marks, the occasional gash from a fight with another shark. This was different. The edges were too clean, too symmetrical. Nothing about it looked like an accident, and nothing about it looked survivable by chance. Once they knew to look for it, they found it everywhere. Not on one shark, on shark after shark, across different waters, different years, several different individuals, the same small circular wound, showing up again and again, like a signature left behind by something that kept coming back. Whatever it wasn't attacking to kill. Every shark carrying that mark was still alive, still hunting, still feeding, still moving through the ocean like nothing had happened to it at all. So the question researchers started asking wasn't whether great white sharks were being marked by something out there. That much was obvious. The real question was what, exactly, was capable of leaving a wound like that on an animal built to be the ocean's most feared predator, and getting away with it every single time. Ask almost anyone who follows ocean news what's capable of wounding a great white shark, and you'll get the same answer within seconds. Orcas. It's not an unreasonable guess. Over the last several years, the idea of killer whales turning the tables on the ocean's most feared predator has become one of the biggest stories in marine biology. Footage of orcas flipping great whites, headlines calling them smarter killers. Entire documentaries built around two named orcas who made a habit of hunting sharks off the South African coast. The story spread fast, and it stuck. At this point, orca predation isn't just a scientific finding. It's become the default explanation for almost anything strange found on a great white's body. So when new wound patterns started turning up on white sharks in places far from South Africa, in numbers far higher than anyone expected, it made sense that orcas were the first suspect researchers reached for. The reputation was already there, the precedent was already there. But the wounds researchers were now cataloging didn't line up with what an orca attack actually looks like. Not in size, not in placement, not in what happened to the shark afterward. Something didn't fit, and the closer scientists looked, the more that gap seemed to matter. To understand why, it helps to know exactly what a real orca attack on a great white involves, and how much force stands behind it. Great white sharks are not an animal that can absorb new threats easily. They mature slowly, some populations taking well over a decade to reach breeding age, and they don't reproduce in large numbers even once they get there. That combination, slow to grow up, slow to multiply, makes the species unusually vulnerable to anything that chips away at its numbers over time. It also means recovery is fragile. Great whites have been legally protected in places like South Africa since the early 1990s, and yet in the years since, several populations haven't grown the way conservationists hoped. Some have held steady. Some have shifted their range entirely, moving into new waters for reasons that are still debated. None of that points to a species with room to spare. So when a new source of injury starts showing up across shark populations, it isn't a minor curiosity. It's a question with real weight behind it. Is this something sharks have always dealt with, quietly, for as long as they've existed? Or is it a newer pressure, stacking on top of everything else already working against their recovery? And there's a second problem hiding inside the first one. If scientists and conservationists have been pointing to the wrong cause, treating this as an orca problem when it isn't, then attention, research, and protective effort may have been aimed in the wrong direction the entire time, while the real explanation went unexamined. Answering that meant going back to where the orca story actually began, and testing it against the evidence directly. Off the coast of South Africa, two male orcas became known for something no one had documented before: hunting great white sharks, one at a time, and removing their livers with a precision that looked almost surgical. Researchers nicknamed them port and starboard after the way each orca's dorsal fin had collapsed to one side. Starting in 2017, great white carcasses began washing up along the coast, missing their livers. Some had also lost their digestive organs, their reproductive organs, gone as though something had known exactly where to cut. 8 sharks over the following years were linked to the pair. Photographs of the wounds showed large, clean tears across the pectoral area. Not scrapes, not punctures, but tissue removed with real force behind it. In 2023, a similar case turned up in Australia. A great white washed ashore missing the same organs, and this time, researchers didn't have to guess. They swabbed the wound and tested it for DNA. It came back as Orca, direct, physical proof that a killer whale had made the kill. Living sharks reacted to the threat the way any prey animal reacts to a predator it can't outrun. Tagged sharks that had held the same territory for years disappeared the moment orcas were detected nearby, sometimes staying away for months at a time. This is not a theory. It's documented, repeated, and lethal, which raises the obvious question: if orcas are capable of this, why wouldn't they also explain the far larger wave of wounds now turning up on sharks everywhere else?